Hello, everyone. This is Quentin Lister with Utah Family Law TV. Today, I'm talking with Krista Clement, MSW and LCSW today about divorce and also working through divorce as it relates to the trauma that comes from going through divorce. And before we get started, I wanted to give Krista the opportunity to introduce herself and give her even contact information. So go ahead, Krista, take it away.
Well, thank you, Quentin, for inviting me. And I'm so excited that I can be here and talk to you. You said, my name's Krista Clement. I'm a trauma trained and informed licensed clinical social worker. So that's what LCSW stands for. And my practice is called Chill Monkey Therapy and Coaching. So yeah, it's a little bit different of a name. I've looked it up. Nobody has it as far as I know. And yes, I am in private practice, and you can find me on Facebook and Psychology Today, or you can email me at kristadcounseling@gmail.com. And I like to provide a brave and safe place for individuals, couples, and groups to work through difficult life transitions, trauma, and relationship issues, including divorce. Okay, and I'm also trained and will be certified with the Autism Asperger Network to work with neurodiverse couples. So I'll also do neurodiverse couples counseling. And you can get a hold of me at 801-400-2190. How is that for an intro?
It's a great intro. It's a fabulous
now,
intro.
is it working?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Yeah, no. So yeah, we talked a little bit beforehand, and you talked about this concept of growing through and past divorce. And so I guess my first question for you is that, so like what is the nature of the trauma that happens when someone's going through divorce, or how does that, so what is maybe unusual about that, or something that people don't expect?
Well, there are very many different reasons why people will divorce. Sometimes people feel like they've just grown out of their relationship, and sometimes there's abuse, sometimes there's just a mismatch on a lot of different levels. But especially when we've been married for a while, we tend to bond and we have a life, right? We have a way of looking at the world, and it can be very, depending on whether you are the one that instigates the divorce or your spouse is, it can be very disorienting and upsetting. And then there's an attachment bond that is broken that you're used to. So you're used to your certain way of life, and you're used to a certain routine, and you're used to having someone be there with you. So I often talk to a lot of my clients about this single hangover that happens, after divorce, this deep feeling of loneliness and being disconnected. And that is definitely related to trauma. And that is a trauma response, is to withdraw, to maybe engage in behaviors that are not good for us, right? We can act out with substance abuse, we can act out with promiscuity and different kinds of things. And we have a tendency to feel like our whole world is being shattered. It's a huge transition. And it's something that I don't think is really honored as much as it should be in our culture, especially a culture that is so family centric like we have here in the United States.
No, so thank you so much for that answer. I was thinking about, as you're saying, we also talked a little bit about kind of like, so there's this trauma that's created when we're going through divorce, right? And you talk about like kind of how sometimes in an effort to try to be like amicable or something like that, sometimes we ignore the feelings we have because we don't want, I don't know, like we don't want to make things messy or something like that. And so I'm just curious if you'd be willing to speak to that issue about like why. So what how does amicable divorce fit into like accepting like kind of the hurt and trauma that comes with divorce?
Well, I think that we have a lot of expectations, and a lot of the reasons why marriages don't work out are because of these expectations or unmet needs. And then when we want to have an amicable divorce, like you said, and I've heard this so often, oh, it's going to be, we're all getting along, it's all going to be great. And then you hear about this horrible knock them out, drag them out custody battle that they're in. And you're like, well, what happened to that amicable divorce? And I think we have a lot of expectations of how life should be. And we're very reticent about being with how things actually are. And divorce, I don't think it's a great thing, as far as like it hurts, it breaks up families. It's difficult to be alone and to change your life and to go through a life transition. And we talked a little bit earlier about this, but it is considered the second most stressful life experience next to the death of a child. Now, just let that sink in for a minute. That is a lot. So it's huge. It's a huge change. And there's also a lot of grief with that. And then that breaking of that attachment bond with our partner, and sometimes even with our children if things aren't going well.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And so I guess it's like going off that, like a follow-up question is like, so right, like for instance, like, you have the example of the couple who at first, when they first divorced, like, okay, we're cool, we're just like, everything's good and whatnot. But then when they get down to the nitty-gritty of like the actual, like the legal side of it, like the contractual side of like divorce and whatnot, then it starts getting messy and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking about like so what's one way to like, or how would you counsel someone who's like they want to make it as painless as possible, but they realize that like, and there's part of this where I'm just gonna have to accept that it's just gonna be hurtful, like I'm gonna have to go through some pain here. And so like, how do we accept pain, but still, is there a way to like accept pain and still also just like make sure that we're like not making things more complicated than they need to be? I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but that's the way I'm phrasing it.
I think that is 100% okay, and the right way to phrase it. Hold on, I'm missing you there. So yeah, I think that the biggest part of any kind of healing experience is acceptance of things as they actually are, not the way we wish them to be, right? And realizing that we're not going to be able to control all aspects of the situation. There are a lot of things going on. There's a lot of dynamics. So how do we accept it? We have to accept that there will be pain. You're not going to go through something that's the second highest stressful experience that a person can go through without having some pain. And I think a lot of us want to bypass that, right? We want to get on to the next thing. It's like that old Adam Sandler movie, Click. I just want to click through this part and get to the point where I'm successful and past this marriage and things are great.
Right.
But I'm also, I like to work with my clients on looking at the treasures that are actually in that dark place. There are things that we are learning from pain. We are so pain phobic in this culture. And why are we so pain phobic? We don't want to feel it. We want to bypass it. We want to move on. But in order to truly grieve, we need to be allowing that pain to be there, accepting it, and learning from it. So how do we do that? I mean, there are a lot of different ways. One of the ways that we can do that is choose a less adversarial process if we're going through divorce, like mediation, right? Or collaborative divorce. If that's possible, that would be great. Focusing on our children, if we have children, as opposed to trying to escape the pain through alcohol, drugs, new relationships. And I do suggest to my clients that they don't get involved with someone right away. I mean, we don't even know who we are after a divorce. It is a very difficult experience where your whole idea of who you are, your foundation is completely shaken. So building an identity, finding out, what do I actually like? Who am I? Very important. And I think we can do that through support groups, right? Through people. So one of the ways that we heal is turning towards others instead of away. And when we're in trauma, we don't want to do that. We want to withdraw. We want to push people away. We want to hide. And so it feels counterintuitive when we're in that trauma to turn towards others for support. So I recommend divorce support groups, therapy, obviously, because I'm a therapist. I found it to be useful too. And I find that, groups, support, therapy, friends, turning towards your family, and especially turning towards your children. right? They didn't ask for it. So being there for them and, trying to tune into them, even though you will be going through a very difficult experience where it's hard to know who you are and what you want. And so instead of running away from the pain, yeah, maybe have an ugly cry, go to Barnes and Noble and look at some books and feel those feelings, feel the emotions. Go to a group and talk about what you're going through and realize that you're not alone in this. It's so important to be connected and to develop some self-compassionate awareness.
So, yeah, no, that's really good. I'm just thinking about, like, in my experience, I mean, I told you, like, I'm an interviewer, but I also, my other hat is I'm a legal secretary right now for a divorce attorney, which is why we like do these types of interviews, right? Because many of the people that we're trying to help are the people going through this situation in their life right now. And something, right, it's like I'll see one time where it's just like where the one person will be more than like they're trying to be rational, and they're trying to like not make things difficult, right? Even though they are hurting and stuff like that. But then I'll see that like the other partner is just either, I mean, for lack of a better term, they're kind of hell bent on just making it as difficult and as elongated as possible and stuff like that. And so how do you, how's one way to like keep your cool, especially when you're like experiencing trauma, right? But then you also like you have someone who seems to be almost like aggravating that trauma, right? And how do you keep your cool? I don't know how you would counsel someone going through that type of situation, but
Boundaries, learning how to make boundaries with other people, learning how to protect your boundaries, right? And it is especially important when you have a partner who's out for revenge to not engage in power struggles. It's really not important, right? If you can go through this legal process without drawing out the divorce, without going to family court for 10 years, to get this and to get that, or, I have to have this asset, being able to be a chill monkey, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And not have T-Rex arms on that,
Right.
on that cliff face, but to let go a little bit. It's not what we want to do in that moment. We want to usually fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And those are the different trauma responses. But we need to try to go past that and realize, okay, this person is going to be doing this, but I'm going to create a boundary. So I suggest, not engaging in conversations or back and forth, talking about just the facts, using email, maybe not texting, maybe not taking phone calls if it is a high conflict divorce situation. Is that true to your experience, Whitten?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I see kind of like my boss, how he deals with like clients. Like, he can't give them mental health advice or anything like that, which is part of the reason why he likes to conduct these interviews with mental health professionals, right? But I do see kind of like interactions, like one thing that he often has to coach people on, even as a lawyer, is to be like, look, you can't, like, with their communication with the other party, especially when the other party is either out for revenge or is just lying about stuff, right? And they're like all about like they're always trying to like make some sort of power move, like that kind of thing. He'll have to pretty much coach the person on their communication with the other spouse, right? And in that coaching, it's pretty much like you're talking about. I feel like it's very much like teaching them how to hold boundaries, essentially, so, that kind of thing, which is hard to do. Hard to do when you have history with somebody, right? Because like the way you establish your relationship at the beginning goes on, and so it's like it's hard to like come back and then be like, okay, I have to treat this relationship differently now, right? And so.
Well, and there's a lot about abandonment and rejection that brings out the little 3-year-old or 5-year-old or 9-year-old in us. So
Right.
When you're seeing couples and they're behaving like this, it's because their deepest attachment issues are being triggered by the divorce.
Right.
And it's very difficult. And so maybe one person's in fight, they're going to be vengeful, or, I'm going to take it all the way for 10 years. I'm going to get everything, I'm going to do this forever. Or maybe someone else is just going to avoid and they're going to freeze. And then they don't get an equitable division of assets or custody. And it's really hard when we're in trauma to make proper decisions. So we have to acknowledge something before we can actually heal it. And acknowledging that this is not going to be a good divorce necessarily. I have not heard of a good divorce. Maybe they're out there, and maybe you'll get some people saying, hey, Krista, my divorce was awesome and it was great and it was totally good. Okay. I believe that could happen.
Right.
I have not seen that, and I have not experienced that. I have experienced it as a significant life event and a serious trauma.
Dang. Well, this has been a good conversation. That's our time for today, though.
Totally.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Krista, once again, for taking the time to speak with me today. I want to give you the opportunity to give your contact information one more time for those folks at home who might want to get in contact with you after viewing this.
My name is Krista Clement. I'm an LCSW in private practice, and my practice is called Chill Monkey. See, I got nerves, man. Nerves, Zoom stuff. Yeah. Chill Monkey Therapy and Coaching. And I have a Facebook page. I'm getting my website, and it's in development right now. But our offices will be open in April. I'll be across the street from Liberty Park, so if you want to see me in person. But until then, I'm doing telehealth. And you can either find me through Psychology Today, Krista D. Clement, or you can find me through Facebook at Chill Monkey Therapy and Coaching. And my number again is 801-400-2190.
Sweet. All right. Thank you so much, Krista.
Thank you, Quentin. It was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good day. All right. Bye-bye.